So as Josh was saying, and it says here I'm a award deserving speaker. So if you know of any awards that I could apply for, feel free to nominate. Yeah. So that was the picture I took. This is another picture I took. And, anyway, so I wanted to talk to you a little about why common sense is not so common, yet all of us think that we have plenty of it, but there's not enough of it in the world. So that very concept itself is not consistent with the common sense. If we all individually think that we have it more than average person, then cumulatively everybody should have, and there should be enough of it in the world. But that is not our experience. So I wanted to spend some time discussing this to kind of look at what sort of brain processes that are occurring, what kind of brain processes that are occurring that make us think that we have this idea of common sense. So I was hoping that we could really look at it in terms of cognitive science, neuroscience, and that's my whole interest in life, is to understand the human behavior. So this proverb that is credited to Voltaire, and he was a professional party goer. And so, yeah, in France, that you would go to this variety of parties that the nobles and aristocrats, they would throw, and he was very knowledgeable, and he was very smart and very witty, and he would talk about things like that, and then that's how he made his living, by writing and by doing philosophy. So, yeah, it's like a superpower. So in my psych unit, we occasionally, every Thursday is a doctor's day to lead the group, and we ask, these are a lot of low functioning schizophrenic patient with the low IQ, and then we ask for a question of the day, and the question of the day is usually, if you could have any superpower, what would it be? And then people would have a different superpower, and that would be my superpower. So don't answer this question, just read it, and okay. So don't answer it. Okay. And kind of hang on. These are your choices. Okay. So keep that in mind, and we will see it later. Well, maybe we look at it. Just raise your hand. We won't debate the answer. Who's choosing 2? Nobody's choosing 2? 3?
You have 5 apples.
Okay, I'll go back to the question. Okay, here's the question. Okay, and here are your choices. So let's see a hand for 2. Okay, you have to vote. This is not precedent.
Then get to my answer.
Well, you haven't got to yet.
3? 3? Yeah, you have 1, 3, 5. Everybody's 5. Wow. Okay, we'll see it a little later. And so.
Do everything ahead of that guy, nothing. That's how it goes sometimes, You lose everything, everything falls apart, and eventually you die and no one remembers you. Very good point.
All right, turn.
Wait, no. It means bear right. Not there.
It said right, so take a right.
No, look. It means go up to the right, bear right, over the bridge, and hook up with 307.
All right,
Maybe it's a
turn.
shortcut, Dwight. It said go to the right.
It can't mean that. There's a light there. He knows where it's going. The machine knows. I'm yelling at me. No, it's not here. Remain calm. I have trained for this. Okay.
So what just happened there? One, he is told, and I could see that little confusion in the beginning, but as he makes the turn, he sees the body of water. He has information coming through his eyes, and he has information coming through his ears. The ears is telling him, make a right. The eyes are telling him, you keep hitting that gas pedal, you will be part of that body of water. So why does he choose to continue hitting the gas, besides him being Michael? He continues to hitting the gas pedal instead of hitting the brake, putting it in reverse. Any thoughts?
Because he made up his mind.
He made up his mind. What else? Phil? Any thoughts?
Well, humans are very good at filtering their environment to only receive the information that they want.
Yeah, that's very good. Yeah. So what he's doing is that he's filtering two contradictory information coming in, taking one over the other. He's falling for what's called the authority bias. Authority bias. It knows what it's talking about, he says. It's the computer, right? Somebody higher power than him telling. So he's not believing his own eyes, and he's believing his ears, and hits the gas. As if like water is going to part, and Route 307 is going to appear. No. Here then is another authority argument. As your dentist, I would recommend this. Notice the gesture. Notice the gesture. What is that? It's like going. Yeah, that is an authority gesture. Authority gesture. As your dentist, I'm telling you. It's okay. This is a real advertisement. Authority argument. How many physicians? Asterisk, I can't read. Yeah. It actually less irritating. Yeah, wow. And it's for protection. Protection. It's protecting your throat, which is contradictory to less irritating. Because is it less irritating or is it protecting? Here he admits that it's irritating. But here he is admitting it's protecting. Yes? Authority argument. I am your doctor, I'm telling you. So we see that we can easily override our basic common sense. But I haven't yet told you what a common sense is. One of the best way to tell you what something is by telling you what it is not.
And
This was not photoshopped. National television. One of the way I want to tell you what a common sense is by then telling you what it is not. So, what I was, yeah, I know. So let's look at the thinking apparatus. This is the apparatus that Mike used to drive himself. And this is the apparatus that gentleman used to choose N. Yeah. So let's look at it. Notice the different, the frontal lobe, the parietal lobe, the occipital lobe, the temporal lobe, and cerebellum, brainstem. These are the broad classification of the area. The blue part, the frontal lobe, has variety of functions. In the humans and higher primate, this is the larger part, not the largest, larger part. than the other part of the brain. The other colors, these three and this, are used in sensory processing. The blue part uses higher level sensory processing as well as motor processing, and then very little of it is then devoted to cognitive processes. What is the difference? The sensory processing is you hear things, you can hear any language and you will process that sound. So if you hear a language that's not familiar to you, you don't speak that language, what is your first perception of that language? It's very fast. These people speak very fast, right? I could speak very fast English and you should understand what I'm saying because every single word I say is not as fast as you can still decipher it. But if I could speak Indian language at half the speed, it would still, you would perceive it as a fast. Why? Because as the sound is going through the auditory cortex, which is located over here, the auditory cortex sends a signal to accessory auditory cortex where the processing, looking for the meaning of that sound, so you're searching for the meaning of the sounds, you're coming up empty because you don't have any associated meaning for the sounds like you do in English. That's why we perceive foreign languages that we do not understand as they're faster. Okay? So the point here is to take away is that look at the larger part of the brain is associated for sensory processing, not finding the cognitive process. Cognitive process is what you use to figure it out between 2, 3, and 5. That's what you used here. So you saw the images, you heard my sound, all that was sensory processing. Actually figuring out the answer was the cognitive process, which is very little brain power that is devoted to it. What you see is a picture of, okay, not everybody at once.
The moon.
Moon, thank you, sir. Yeah. Yeah. It's a picture of moon, no trick. Does anybody see a picture of Saddam Hussein?
Yes.
No,
Two.
Oh,
no. Somebody.
not till you say.
Or Joseph
Yeah,
Stalin.
look, there's,
Yeah.
or Stalin, yeah, very
Oh,
good.
now I can see it.
See it? The
Oh,
nose, the
yeah.
mustache, the teeth. Yeah?
Yeah.
You see it now? Yeah.
Yeah.
This picture actually published a few days after Saddam Hussein was killed, or was hanged. This appeared in the Baghdad newspaper. It was a front. Now, when you look at this picture, you didn't recognize it at first, but after I pointed out, everybody was seeing it. Yes?
Yeah.
So let's look at the process. How do you know what you know? It's called epistemology. How do we know what we know? Okay? So how does your brain know? So let's look at it. As the picture, the light waves are coming out of here, going through your eyes, they're landing it on the retina. Optic nerve, the retina converts the light signal into electrical signal. The electrical signals are conducted by your optic nerve and taken to the brain, and they follow all the way like this, path, to the occipital lobe all the way in the back, where all the pixels are assembled, and then he correctly recognized that the image that his occipital lobe has assembled is in fact the moon, and he was brave enough to say so. That happened.
Understanding about that.
Yeah, well, yeah, I could. But the thing is that had to come back to the frontal lobe. You had to get memory signals from the memory bank because you had to search. What does a picture of moon look like? There was a memory bank that told you, from all the pictures of moons I have seen, this one looks like a picture of a moon. So you made the search, you found it, and you said it was a moon. Later when I told you there was a picture of Saddam Hussein, you heard the word Saddam Hussein, and you started searching your brain memory for image of Saddam Hussein. You found one, and you looked at, now your occipital lobe is searching for all the images of Saddam Hussein that you have seen. You're combining all this information, bringing it to the frontal lobe, and now you are aware. Oh, yes, that's the picture of the Saddam Hussein. So you see the processes that went on. Numerous components had to contribute everything to the frontal lobe. Your frontal lobe then decided it is a picture of a moon. It is also a picture of Saddam Hussein. But now your frontal lobe is saying, but you know it can't be, right? It can't be. It's a delusion is what you are telling yourself, right? Because, and how do you know it is the illusion? Because there is no way somebody went to the moon and painted a picture of Saddam Hussein. That would be just impossible. So based on what you know about illusions, based on what you know about moon, based on what you know about pictures, you weigh all the evidence. Where did you weigh it? Yeah, in the frontal. And you decided you are going to reject the notion that picture of Saddam Hussein is on the moon. That was the only logical conclusion that you could come to. The reason that you come to that conclusion is based on what? Everything you know about photography, everything you know about optical illusion, everything you know about moon, and everything you know about Saddam Hussein. All those components were brought to the frontal lobe for higher level processing and the cognitive processing, and you decided that is not a picture of Saddam Hussein. I know it looks like him, somebody said it looked like Stalin, yeah, but you know that that can't be because you rejected that hypothesis. So the information flow, this is the same description I just gave you. Association, hippocampus is the memory bank, that's where the memories are stored. And all that information went to the frontal lobe. The word Saddam Hussein, auditory cortex, gave the meaning of the sound. You combined all the memories and you decided it was it. So now the hypothesis in the context is formed. Is that the image of the person Saddam Hussein really on the moon? That's the hypothesis that you're asking yourself. And this time you weighed the evidence and concluded that your experience was actually an illusion. So hopefully we rejected the hypothesis and we said, yeah, I know I saw it, but I know it isn't true. But this time, you were able to conclude correctly. Okay? So let's see what happens. Birth of the common sense. So what is the common sense then? The common sense is then defined as, well, who knows Ed Meese?
Who?
Ed Meese, he was a, yeah.
Reagan's.
Yeah, what is he famous for? He had a word, he said a quote. He was regulating pornography.
Oh.
Now you know.
Yeah.
You want to finish it?
Yeah, and he said, I can't define it, but I know it when I see it.
Excellent, yeah. So he's talking about pornography, he's going to ban it. They asked him, what is it? And he goes, I can't tell you what it is, but I know it. When I see it, I know it. Something like that, yeah? That's what the common sense is like. I'm not quite able to tell you what exactly it is. But where it comes from, the idea is that this reliance that I know, I'm from Missouri, you know, I know, I'll know. Yeah. So our frontal lobe has served us well. Why? You made it here at 7 o'clock today. If your frontal lobe, well, 7:05, yeah. The point is, if you made it here and not to your local ER, you're doing good. Yeah, you were able to judge the velocities of the other cars. You knew which side of the road to be on. You knew when to apply the brake when the light, your frontal lobe served you well. You made it here. So you rely on your frontal lobe. We trust it, okay, to steer us. And so let's look at this. Loosely put, that it is reliance on our frontal lobe to weigh the evidence and detect the BS. Okay? Now note that when I was showing you these different colors of brain, there was not a single one that had a BS detector built in. Unfortunately, we don't have one. Okay? There is no BS detector in our brain. There is no, yeah. And that's the problem. Okay? And I wanted to tell you a little bit about this blind side experiment. This was published by this gentleman. And I'll tell you. So remember the occipital lobe. That's where the images are assembled. Okay? If in the war, if this part of the brain is blown off in an explosion, this person would not then be able to assemble any images. Eyes are perfectly fine, the retina is fine, the optic nerve is fine, all the fibers that go up to the occipital lobe are fine, but no occipital lobe. Can that person see? Cannot see. Cannot see. Why? Image is not assembled, and then it is not transported to frontal lobe to have it organized. Okay? But he still cannot see, but he's not technically blind because his eyes can process light. His retina can convert the light signal into electrical signal. The optic nerve can conduct the electrical signal. But the signal then cannot be processed. So when they're showing this person a picture and he's sitting there looking at the screen, he has no idea what he's looking at. And he's talk about whatever it is that comes to your mind. And he starts talking about, oh, there was this time where I was sitting there on the beach, and I remember because it was my 11th birthday, and I'm just making up stuff now. Okay? So he's describing it, and then he's looking at a picture of sitting on the beach with his mother. And he said, yeah, and then it was a wonderful day, and my mother was sitting there. And it's like, well, why are you talking about that? You could talk about anything. Goes, I don't know, it just came to my mind. And a little later, they're seeing different pictures. He sees a picture of a dog. And he goes, oh yeah, and then when I was 7, I got this dog. Oh, it was the best dog. And talks about, why are you talking about your dog? So, I don't know, it just came to my mind. Here's what's happening. When the occipital lobe is gone, he cannot assemble an image and send it to the frontal lobe to give him the conscious experience of seeing the image. But the memory bank are still receiving signals from the fibers. The memory banks are still receiving the fibers from that. So the memory banks are searching like your memory banks were searching when you saw the picture of moon. And the picture of moon, you recognize that it was a picture of moon. He is looking at a picture of his mother. Memory bank is searching, comes up with the memory of that picture when it was taken, and is sent to the frontal lobe. He becomes consciously aware of the time that he was sitting next to his mother in the Hawaiian. He becomes consciously aware of his dog when he's looking at it. When they ask him, what did you see? He goes, nothing, he cannot see. He has no occipital lobe, but the rest of the brain is full. Is it okay? Are you understanding how the brain is then, in general, processing the information? Now consider this. If your frontal lobe, which you rely on to tell you when something is not right. When the frontal lobe is being duped, who will save you? No one. No one will save you. Let's look at an example. This color is darker than this color. Is that what your brain is telling you? I want you to take your finger, put it up in front of your eyes so that this is black. Compare the two colors. What do they look like?
Contrast is not as great.
Pretty darn close.
All right. Skeptics. Yeah, contrast is not that great. But if you play with me,
High quality photograph.
yeah, that it would appear same, or they're nearly same. Okay, nearly same. Now remove the finger, and you will see that they're completely different. Put it again in front of your eyes, and they will appear nearly the same. Now, when you don't have a finger in front of your eye, you can clearly see the difference, yes? And when you put the finger there, what is your frontal lobe telling you? That the colors are more similar or exactly the same than this way. So is your frontal lobe lying to you when the finger is here, or is it lying to you when the finger is not here?
It's lying when the finger is not there.
Yeah, when the finger is on. That is your frontal lobe telling you cognitively, yet your sensory perception, the moment you remove the finger, as if your brain has learned not a damn thing by putting the finger in like that. You're convinced that those two colors are same. The second you remove it, the brain says, oh no, they're different. Yes, they are the same. No, they're different. Your frontal lobe is duping you right now, and you do not know. Yet cognitively you know, because when you do this, you can see. It is this line, and there is this bright light here that gives you the context, and you see this as an illusion. It's an illusion. These two colors are identical, but it's an illusion. You know what's another illusion that's explained by this process? When the moon first comes up, a full moon, how big does it look? 4 hours later, how big does it look? You mean to tell me the moon moved away from Earth? The Earth moved away from moon? It's the same thing, of course no. Yeah, it didn't move away. So why is that you see it like that? Horizon. The horizon gives you illusion of finite distance. Something in the background of something finite, you see it. When it moves up, it's infinite distance. Yeah. So this bottle is larger to you, smaller to you, even larger to you. Yeah. See? Yeah. Same concept. Moon does not get smaller 4 hours later. Yes? It doesn't change the color either. Right? Orange is, up there is whitish. Right? Refraction. When the frontal lobe deceives you, you do not know. If the frontal lobe deceives you, did this work for anybody?
Yeah.
I caught it the second time.
You caught it the second time.
I just caught the misspelling.
But do you see how the frontal lobe will deceive you? When the frontal lobe deceives you, you do not know. So this is why we all think that I have enough common sense because other people don't. Yeah, that should say fear. That should say boycott. And And I was just laughing at it earlier that I had asked somebody to come in and edit my English and spelling because I'm not very good at it, so thank you, Angie. And then I'm laughing at these people, but the point is that they didn't ask somebody like Angie to come and help them.
Doesn't was misspelled on the previous line. Doesn't. Brain doesn't inform. Doesn't is misspelled.
Oh, yeah?
Very good.
Yeah, that's also, yeah, that's very true. Thank you, I didn't even see it. Yeah, only if there was a way he could control the amount of sun that was coming in his eyes. Maybe there was like something like this over here. I don't know. So these gentlemen put up these posts. Yeah, Joshua?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, there's a picture that I found in there, and I don't know how real it is, but it's got a guy who's a Muslim who's protesting, I assume some sort of Israeli thing.
Yeah.
And it's, stop the juice, J-U-I-C,
Yeah.
instead of Jews.
I'm guilty of that too because, I'm a very poor speller, but I get somebody to help me. You can't read this one, but so we'll move along. So I want you to now consider what is happening within the frontal lobe, okay? So we talked about the overall brain process. Now I want to talk about what's happening in the frontal lobe. So this is the flow of information. Remember I told you the memory bank sends direct projection to the frontal lobe. So the guy can't see the picture of his mother, but he talks about it because he remembers. So the frontal lobe receives information from the memory bank. It receives information from the auditory cortex, visual cortex, emotional input as well. All the other sensory input like vibration, the distance, the echo, the temperature, and all that information is integrated. You finally accept or reject what is being hypothesized in your mind, okay? That's the basic process. The frontal lobe then is, these are the reasons then everybody comes to a different conclusion. The culture that you grow up in. Remember the previous one we saw where they were saying that shaving would make the god angry? That's why they all grow a beard, right? Because the shaving makes gods angry. So to them, that sign made perfect sense. Even though the English and all that didn't really matter too much. That idea that shaving makes God angry is foreign to us. To them, it is part of their. So it's a perfect common sense to them. It's like, dude, it says in the Holy Book not to shave. Why are you going out and shaving? It just doesn't make any sense. It's not a common sense for them. So culture. Time. The time that you live in. So in 60s, in 1960s, we were watching this show, Mad Men, and we are amazed by some of the things that they do. The constant drinking at the office, and the slurs, and the sexual harassment and things like that. Everybody would be fired like 3 times a day if they did kind of things they do today. Time. Even Buddha, when he reached enlightenment, his wife wanted to join the monastery, and he said, what? You're a woman. What happens to your enlightenment, man? You're enlightened. You should be able to see that the women have the same right and the capacity to achieve the same things as the main brain could achieve. He didn't escape the influence of the time and culture that he attained enlightenment in. Mores is what the culture and the society consider right and wrong. In the show we watched, everybody is accepting that African Americans cannot have high-power thinking jobs. They can operate elevator, they can work in the farm, but they cannot work in the office. Women can only type. They cannot become the writer. It's the standard thing now. Age and development. Now, we were saying something that a 13-year-old's common sense is not different than 33-year-olds. Then somebody pointed out that their boyfriend was 33 but acted more like 13. But yeah, the formal and informal education. It never seems to amaze me that lower the information you have, I don't want to say lower education, low level of information you have, easy the solutions to the problem. My dad has a solution to Middle East crisis. Yeah. The homeless guy in the bus next to me knew how to cure AIDS. Yeah, low amount of information, easier it is then to find the formal and the informal solution. Religion plays a huge role, right? Economic status. The guy was telling me his brother makes lots and lots and lots of money. And I asked him, well, how much? $1,200 a month. That's lots and lots of money in his neighborhood. Okay? Yeah. So, parenting, social status, peer group. Two siblings. One is totally one way, the other one is totally the other way. Why? Time difference, right? And the peer. When my daughter was living in St. Louis, 2 years in a row she won presidential academic achievement. Because she got like all A's, everything, because she hung out with all straight A students. Here she's in with the popular girls there. Oh, she's here. Oh, sorry. Honey, I'm so sorry. Yeah. So, yeah. So, and she won the third time. Yeah. This is the mother of all influence.
It's common sense.
Yeah, I didn't have any. I'm sorry. My frontal lobe duped me. I did